Hello, this is Jackie Wildstar, and I am going to give you a deck review of the Ostara Tarot by 4 different artists, all from the Vancouver area. I really like this deck. I got it not so long ago. We're going to start off with one of my main pet peeves of this deck, and that is the box. While the box looks lovely, it's kind of a cigarette style box, and you open up and here is the lovely booklet, and then the deck has to lie in 2 piles. I do not like the deck lying in 2 piles. I like, like a lot of folks, like the smaller boxes that keep the deck all in 1 pile. When the deck is not in use, the cards settle over time. And when you're shuffling, the cards do bend a little. And I think having that time where they get to settle with the booklet on top of them, creating more force, and a good seal on the box helps them lay flat. So the first thing I would change about this deck, though I don't have that many complaints about this deck, I will say, is the box. Please just give me a traditional box, that fits the cards nicely, that does not make them sit in 2 piles. So we've got the 2 piles here, and see, you gotta kind of take out the cards. It's a little awkward, it's a little messy. Yeah. I am not a fan. I will say that. I am not a fan. Oh, see, and now I'm doing weird stuff like that. And now I'm like, wait, did I accidentally flip all my cards? I don't think I did. I don't think I flipped them upside down and stuff. I am somebody who does not read reversals, so I will say that off the bat, just so folks know. Okay, so now that I have them in my hands, put the box aside. They're a good size for shuffling. I think they're a good thickness and flexibility for shuffling. I use both the traditional shuffling method with this deck, which they're pretty good with. This table has a little bit of friction on it, and that causes some troubles. It's also not the most stable table, as you can see. So that will sometimes cause some problems. But it's also a really good deck for doing overhand shuffling, I find. And card poppers are especially nice with this deck. I think because of the very thick edging that is done on this deck. And since I'm already talking about it, one of the main complaints that people have about this deck on other reviews, both on Amazon and YouTube and the internet in general regarding this deck, is that it's hard to get this deck apart when it is new, when you first get it. And I do believe that is due to, and others theorize this similarly, this is a pretty glossy deck, and then it's got a pretty thick silver edging on it. And while it looks fantastic, it makes the cards difficult to pull apart when they're new and fresh and hot off the press and they're all bundled together. Some people have accidentally ripped their cards, and thankfully, to those who came before me with this deck, I read all the reviews and knew that may be a problem going forward with it. And I read about the freezer trick where you put the deck in the freezer. I think I had it in the freezer for about an hour or so, and then you pull them apart and it's supposed to be a lot easier. I did that when I got it, and I will admit it was late at night by the time I was taking the deck apart, and I had smoked a little herb, so I was a little stoned. So, you know, I did take probably 10 minutes pulling the cards apart slowly to make sure everything went okay. And I'm glad that I did, because I think this deck is worth that. You know, it is a mass market deck, readily available on Amazon. I believe I got this deck for around $21. I think it was just under $21. Maybe it was $21.99. But this is a really cool, awesome deck for that price point. And going forward, I'm going to kind of just go through the cards. And I'm not going to comment on every single one, but I'm going to comment here and there. And here we have the lovely High Priestess that is also on the box and book of this deck. We have the Tower card. I personally like this Tower card because of the birds flying from the ensuing disaster, carnage, sudden change in their life. They are already adapting and moving forward and scouting out somewhere more safe to be, somewhere more safe to settle. So I like that this Tower card in particular carries a good message of hope with it. The Death card is usually good at doing that in a deck. You don't always see that in the Tower. This is the Six of Cups. And this is a deck, another complaint that I have seen in other reviews, and one that I struggle with a little bit, but I'm also enjoying at the same time. It can be hard to figure out what suit is going on in the image. Because it's not made obvious, it's not given to you. Like a lot of decks will say, you know, the Six of Cups, and you know, it'll be very clear, and the Six Cups will be very, very present. You know, it's not given to you. So this is humans all holding cups of steaming water around an albino humpback whale who is spy hopping and surfacing through a small area, almost as if they're all engaging in some sort of ancient tradition together where the humans help take care of the whales. And I'm a very big cetacean and whale person. I kind of really love this card, and there are albino humpback whales. There's a famous one named Migaloo, I believe, who is seen in Australian waters. Anyway, very creative take on the Six of Cups. And yeah, you have to look and see, like, oh yeah, they're holding cups. This is the Six of Cups. So a little tricky, but something you could work around. I wouldn't recommend this as a beginner deck. While it is Rider-Waite-Smith based, it is a little harder. And although, you know, if somebody did decide to use it as a beginner deck, more power to them. You know, definitely gonna learn a lot there with symbolism. Here we have the World. I really like this World card because, you know, there are pieces of the planet flying off. Well, I'm not sure if they're like being rejected, ejected, or if like some sort of force of gravity on the outside is pulling them off, and it doesn't really denote that. But what it does show is that, you know, life, this planet, Earth, everything is dynamic, and there is perfection in imperfection. And so while this may be happening to the planet, it's still complete and whole and going through the cycles that it must go through to be that perfect imperfect. Very modern take on the world or the universe or the cosmos, depending on what deck you are looking at. This would be the Six of Swords. Not really going to comment on that one. Here we have The Lovers, this is kind of fun one. They're dancing. They do appear to be people of color, maybe of Latinx folks. So cool that there is definitely diversity with the humans in this deck. I appreciate that a lot because it's something I look for in a deck. This is the Magician card. It's a very not traditional magician image, and that's another thing I appreciate about this deck. One, the magician appears to be female, or at least feminine in nature. And she's got her hands present, and there's many eyes, and if you look, it's like the cards of the tarot are swirling around the magician, and all the cards have eyes. And she's got snails in her hair. You create your own reality. It's the Magician. Here we have the Four of Coins. We've got kind of a buccaneer bunny, I will call them. Going forth to be an entrepreneur of sorts. Trying to get their capitalist mission going forth there on the boat, perhaps being miserly with their capitalist decisions. Okay, and then we have, this is one of the sweetest Two of Cups I've ever seen. So besides whales, I'm very much a bird nerd. I have two birds who you may be hearing in the background. They're Bork's parakeets. I also volunteer with Birds of Prey, but these two birds are nuzzling each other. There's the two cups. They've got their emotional balance and stability going on with each other. It's a pretty cool take on that card. And then we have the Five of Cups. This very much looks like this humanoid overindulged. We've got the snakes. Very interesting take on that as well. I really like it. This is the Hanged Man. I think the artwork is lovely. I do not like that this card is called the Hanged Man, but a lot of I know that's the traditional name of the card. And most decks still call it that, but when I got my first deck that called it the Hanged One instead of the Hanged Man, that really resonated with me as a queer person, because, you know, this is not a card that is gendered other than in the title of it. The Hanged One can be anyone of any sex or gender presentation. So it's my personal belief, like if I ever do a tarot deck, they will be the Hanged One or something else that does not denote gender or sex, to make it more universal. But other than that, I think this is a cool card. Just making my stuff known. Okay, so we've got the Three of Wands here, and this one's fun and whimsical. We've got the frog, or I'm pretty sure it's a frog, not a toad, although he is bumpy, so maybe he is a toad. Frogs are definitely more slick. But he's got a fishing pole made of 3 wands, and there are boats attached to them, and it looks like the boats are made out of leaves from the wands. It's really cute. Love it. I love animal decks, and I love that this is both animals and humans. I like animal decks in general because when working with clients and reading for friends, you don't have to worry about diversity presentation in the deck. Animals seem to be something that most humans can connect with, no matter what race or heritage background they have. You know, animals are all over the world, and most of us have our ideas of them. I get that not everybody can connect with animal decks. I am very much an animal person, and I very much love working with animal decks. And speaking of, here we have the Ace of Pentacles. We've got a little mouse or vole there. Actually, if it's got a tail, I think that means it's definitely a mouse. It's just So cute. It's the Ace of Pentacles. And here we have, sorry, I have to look at it and be like, which one? This is another one of the cards that I'm looking at, trying to figure out what suit it actually is. And this is the Nine of Cups. And again, this whole deck is very whimsical. And we've got a little humanoid fairy type person sleeping on top of a pile of cats. And there are various cups throughout, and there's one balanced delicately on the cat's back there. It's just such a cool, cute little card there. All right, and we have the Seven of Pentacles with the raccoon family hanging out there. I think it's a fantastic depiction of the Seven of Pentacles. Four of Swords, which injured or dead bunny there, not sure. And then here we have the Queen of Wands, and look at how dynamic and vibrant this card is. So keep in mind, 4 artists collaborated to do this deck, and so yes, you will see a variety of styles, although I think what ties them all together is the whimsy, the colorfulness, and the animals and the animal-human hybrids. And you know, we've got a lion shooting laser eyes, very fiery energy there. And the queen is just chilling amongst it, bright flowers, very cool. And here we have the Eight of Pentacles. This is one of my favorite in the deck because it's got a barn owl here, and the barn owl is enjoying the work that they are doing, making their little owlet coins there. I don't know. I have a thing for owls and birds, like I was saying. And then here we have the Three of Swords, and I love that it's a heart carved into a tree with the swords into it. Actually, they look a little more like daggers. I do a lot of artwork depicting trees with carved hearts in them with various messages within the hearts. Something I started doing in art school when I lived in Minneapolis. A good long time ago, probably 14, 15 years ago, that I was drawing these things. I still do draw them too. So I like this because it reminds me of some of the artwork that I try to do, although my style is very different than this. I just, you know, it's a kinder Three of Swords than you often see in a lot of modern decks, where they get a little on the almost gory side, which I also like. Here we have the Five of Swords with the serpent. And so this is the Knight of Cups. She's actually sailing in her cup here. And if you look, there's some bee symbology in there. And she is following her heart, what she knows to be true to her heart, in her little boat, her cup boat there. And we've got one of the Ursa constellations there as well. And I love this take on this card. Knight of Cups. Fantastic, fantastic card. And I'm trying to not get the glare of the stupid ring light on there. And it's hard because these cards are glossy, and I wish that they were more matte so that wouldn't happen, because I've been having a hard time photographing them as well from the gloss. All right, and we've got the Devil here. Very neat take on the Devil. He's wearing a full skull mask there. His deception, and he appears to be controlling 2 humans in a lantern enclosure. Very, very fun. And this is the Seven of Cups. And so the cups are, she's trying to keep them all together on her tray there. It's both awesome how they integrate the suit into the artwork so smoothly and cohesively, and on this one, you know, not so hard to figure out which suit it's supposed to be, but on others, like you've seen, a little trickier. but it definitely works for this one. Okay, we have the glorious King of Pentacles here. Stupid ring light. More very direct POC representation. You know, and something that I like to look for as far as diversity in a deck is not just straight up diversity, but seeing persons of color and indigenous folks in the positions of power, like kings and queens, or you know, major arcana cards. I think that's very important to see people of color in positions of power within the tarot deck. But I think this is just a glorious King of Coins or Pentacles. And here we have the Empress. I really like this Empress. She's done in that kind of similar style you've seen in some of the other cards. Very warm toned. And she's young and she's not pregnant. She is not pregnant. Katie Flowers, this Empress is not pregnant. To denote the creative process and prosperity, she's got a bird's nest in her hair with a bird sitting on eggs surrounded by the flowers. I love this Empress. I really do. All right, and here we have the Ten of Wands. And I find this Ten of Wands interesting because, you know, wands are traditionally the fiery suit, and we've got an aquatic animal here depicted in the 10. And this suit in this deck actually depicts aquatic animals a number of times within the wands. So a very interesting juxtaposition slash maybe balance there. But yeah, very interesting take on the Ten of Wands with the humpback whale and the human hands helping it in the book. You know, maybe I'll read this one actually, but I believe they talk about the humans helping the whale, who is kind of, you know, 10 card pinnacle, end of the cycle, you know, and the wands being a suit of creativity, action, doing things, making things. It's kind of saying like, oh, this whale has now done too much. It needs care. It needs to take time to be cared for and do self-care, which I think is a cool take. And yes, I will read that one. So we're looking for the Ten of Wands. I will give you a taste of the book in here too and what it all says. So, color book, very cool. Ten of Wands right here. And what it says, it's got the keywords up here: burden, hard work, stress, achievement. So yes, kind of the culmination of all of those. And it says, a humpback whale swims through the silhouette of a body embraced by arms. The tens of tarot represent the completion of a cycle. This 10 suggests that you are finally reaping the rewards after investing a great deal of effort. There is a strong sense of responsibility with this card, for while there is fulfillment and energy, there are also new burdens. The dream is no longer a lofty idea, but a concrete reality that requires a lot of hard work. You may feel overworked and stressed, and this card urges you to figure out a more long-term way of dealing with these challenges. Perhaps delegating tasks is necessary. So I do like little white books, and, you know, in this case, a bigger book, or in some of the other decks I have even bigger books. I do like reading them because sometimes they will give me new insight in reading cards. You know, it's a different take, a different perception that you're reading every time in the various booklets. And also with decks like this, it may make you notice things that you wouldn't have noticed otherwise. Or it may make you realize what they're actually trying to depict in the card, when it's kind of a little like, okay, well, I could do this biddy style, but you know, I think I want to see what the artist's intention was for the card. And I really like that. I think it's important for the more artistic decks like this, especially this one. While it is based off of the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, you know, it is very unconventional, and I think that a good book like this with the deck is very helpful. Even though I've been reading tarot for about 25 years now, I will still read these books. Not everybody does, and that's fine, you know, teach their own. But I do like to kind of absorb the fresh perspective, if you will, and kind of file it into my catalog of tarot cards in my brain. All right, go back to the deck. Okay, so here we have the Five of Pentacles. It's actually very pretty for this normally one of the most difficult decks, or one of the most difficult cards in a tarot deck. And actually, so it's the card of physical struggle, physical hardship, financial hardship, poverty. You know, it could be losing your job, losing your home, getting really sick, or having other very serious health issues, homelessness. I am somebody who has experienced all of those things in this life. And now that I am actually disabled, you know, this card actually scares the living crap out of me if it shows up in a reading for myself. And I kind of, you know, I do a very thorough checking and rechecking, and will probably draw more cards if I'm only drawing 1 or 3 if this shows up, because, you know, I've almost died from being homeless, and at this point in my life, with a pacemaker, mechanical heart valve, incredibly debilitating migraines, hemiplegic nature, and, you know, ad nauseum, all kinds of things as a result of my cardiac issues. You know, if I'm ever in a place where I have to be truly homeless again, I may not survive it. So a little personal tangent there of why I take this card so seriously when it comes up for me personally, but also others. You know, I try to be very sensitive about it, but also brutally honest, because, you know, that's why people are coming to you for readings. But again, this is a very lovely take on such a hard card. You know, we've got warm tones kind of giving you hope there, while that person is alone, you know, against the stained glass of what is probably a church, like the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith image. Yeah, this card seems like a softer Five of Pentacles than most traditional ones you'll see. And here we have the Four of Wands, and it's depicting a family of rabbits eating their carrot wands there. And this is the Ace of Cups. Fun take there, but I'm not really vibing with this as an Ace of Cups card. I like the artwork, it's fun. It just kind of doesn't do it for me for what the traditional meaning and conveyance of this card is. But, you know, alright, that's alright. Not too bad. Okay, and here we have, see, I'm getting a little lighted out from the bright LEDs up there. So this is the Three of Cups, and that Ace of Cups that I was just talking about seems to be more fitting for the traditional imagery of usually 3 feminine people toasting. It looks like just one person in there, and they've got overflowing cups of abundance and lots of little frogs. There's a lot of frogs in this deck, adding to the whimsy of it and the fun of the animals. So, very interesting take on the Three of Cups. While it is still flowing abundance and celebrating together, it is not humans necessarily celebrating together. It is a human with the frogs. So yeah, I like that. This is the Hierophant. A little bit more surreal, abstract take, but you know, you've got the books and papers, and, you know, I think it does a really good job of conveying the traditionalism and the arduousness of the Hierophant. And you know, the Hierophant is a card that can take on certain meanings depending on the context, and I think that, yeah, they did a really good job in conveying the Hierophant. I also like, again, you know, the Hierophant is usually depicted as a religious person of standing, and you know, these are definitely people of color hands, so whoever the Hierophant is behind those books, or maybe the books, but still POC representation in a more authoritative card. So I like that. We've got a lovely Queen of Pentacles here. She's got a child. Very appropriate. We have the Eight of Wands here, and the wands are coming out of the chest of what I believe is a red-tailed hawk. Some more birds. Very powerful image there, to me anyway. I think this card is beautiful. We have the King of Swords here. He is a very serious King of Swords. Very interesting. I love the old school armor from centuries ago. I don't know if it's Chinese or Japanese. I'm gonna go with, I think, Chinese historical type armor. Please forgive me if I am incorrect on that. But again, you know, more cultural representation than just Western focus. And here we have the Six of Coins or Pentacles. I'm not sure if she or the fishes here are the benefactor. I can't quite tell who is giving to who there, but it doesn't really matter. You can see and feel the balance, or at least I can. And we have the Nine of Swords. We've got a big cat here. I'm not sure what type of big cat it's supposed to be. I'm gonna guess jaguar. You know, and it's definitely in some sort of surreal darkness, whether, you know, it's a tween time, dawn dusk, or maybe there's a fire raging, and things are smoky and dusky and tinged orange, like I have seen during fire season when I was living in California. But we know that, you know, cats have good eyesight in low light, but you'll see their eyes are kind of glowing or maybe glazed over. So they are being haunted by these things in their mind. Are they really there? Snarling at them too. Oh, and this card is lovely. This is the Nine of Pentacles or Coins. A lovely card of heading towards abundance there. And not sure what type of big cat this is, but very loungy, very loungy. That's also another person of color. They are definitely brown skinned there, and they are enjoying the fruits of their labor and relaxing, and it's beautiful. And here we have the Page of Pentacles. It's another one that's tricky to see, but the pentacle is actually the sun or the moon there behind them. If you see, it almost looks like an I Ching coin, and they are surrounded by kitsunes, foxes. Oof. So this is the Ten of Swords, and as I've previously stated, I love whales, especially humpback whales. I have a very strong personal connection to this particular species. And a lot of people may think that it's interesting that the swords are in the belly or ventral side of the whale. But if you think about it, as this artist surely did, you know, when we normally see whales in the water, not when they're out of the water doing acrobatic acts like this, you know, you're usually going to see their back in the water. And so they're usually harpooned in the back. Or that would be, you know, basically what I'm saying is they had to think about the swords going into the belly or ventral side of the whale instead of the back or dorsal side of the whale, being as this card traditionally is like a betrayal card being stabbed in the back. To a whale, that would be being stabbed in the belly or the ventral side. So kudos to this artist for really, you know, taking this card to the next level as far as I'm concerned, especially with animals. And it's both a beautiful card and a very tragic card to me. But fantastic take. Here we have the Strength card. And instead of a lion, we have this buccaneer type person. See, they've got an eye patch. And they've got a dragon instead of a lion, and I really like that. And actually, this is the card that came up for me when I did my New Year's reading. I got this deck on December 31st, actually. And I decided, I was so excited about it that I wanted to use it right away. And I did the whole process of pulling it apart, and I cleansed it, prepped it, and then at 11:59, I started overhand shuffling, and it kind of took my time, you know, connecting the energy. And, you know, even though it's a socially constructed liminal space, I did draw the card at some point between 11:59 and midnight. I'm not exactly sure when because I had my eyes closed, and this was the card that I drew. And so a very, you know, fortuitous card for the year. I like that Strength card. I also really like, so her armor, she's got cities, she's got structures on top of her epaulets, like civilization on her shoulders. And again, I would like to repoint out, the Strength card is not a card about physical strength. It is a card about finding your inner strengths, working cohesively with others with those inner strengths to make things happen. Not brute strength, not physical strength, but inner strength and courage. And that's a lot harder to develop than it is to develop physical strength for most folks. And here we have the Knight of Pentacles. The Knight of Pentacles is actually a card that's been coming up for me a lot lately in various decks, in various readings. I really like that the person is slowly trotting through the heavy snow with a bear ally. And, you know, they're taking their time to get to where they want to be, to gather what they want to gather. And I love the birch trees. I think it's just very aesthetically pleasing, and I just really, really like this card and the way it's done. Okay, Knight of Pentacles, and here we have the Eight. Another one I had to look at. So this is the Eight of Cups in this deck. You see the various cups. And we've got another bird, but what's unique about this bird is it's another shapeshifter human animal hybrid. They've got human legs here, and the rest of them is a bird body. Oh, stupid glare, stupid glare. But Yeah, very cool card. And here we have the Seven of Swords with the raccoon looking over his shoulder. Very nicely depicted there. And we've got the Hermit. The Hermit is probably me in the tarot, I'm the Hermit. This one's interesting because the human is definitely, you know, wearing heavy clothing. It looks like they're in a cold, slightly enclosed cave-like environment, yet there are still fungi growing there, which you don't normally see in the cold, but you know, magic mushrooms maybe. But yeah, cool Hermit. And here we have the Death card. And more bird imagery here with the bird skull. And if you'll see, there are plants growing out of the eye socket, the orbital bones of the dead bird. And so there you have your death rebirth depiction, and the hands, I'm sure, are there for either, you know, trying to depict transformation in the process, or maybe soothing, as was with, what card was it with the whale? I want to say it was maybe the Nine of Wands or something that I talked about earlier. Anyway, cool death card. And here we have the Two of, see, I have to look at it again. Oh yeah, okay, so she's the Two of Wands. And so the birds are all outside of the cage, and she's the one that's trapped inside this kind of gridded bird cage over her that she needs to burst forth out of to do what she's gotta do. Okay, and here we have the Knight of Wands. They're riding a bear with like a rhino horn armor, which is kind of neat. Digging it. And this is the Four of Cups. You can see that person turning up their nose with the cups. And then we have the Queen of Swords. And again, more multicultural representation. I'm not sure how truly accurate, but from what I know, it seems well done. We've got a crane here too. Very nice Queen of Swords. And this is the Two of Pentacles. And we see this human with a bird mask, kind of plaggy type mask. It's not quite a plague mask. Balancing their coins, struggling to balance their physical material world there. And actually, they're levitating. Maybe that's part of the bird mask. They're levitating while finding that balance. So that's pretty cool. A little uplifting take. Here we have a very pagan looking emperor, which, you know, if I got to deal with the emperor, I guess I'd rather they were pagan-like than more traditional. And here we have Ten of Cups, very idealistic card. I'm not always a fan of the ones that tie the romance and finding a partner into it. One, we already have the lovers. Two, finding stability and happiness and reaching your dreams doesn't always mean finding the love of one's life. You know, I am queer, so maybe I come at this from more of a queer context. I'm also non-monogamous, so I think about those types of aspects. I also don't think finding a significant other is the be-all end-all of what a dream should be, but I get that that is what some people's dreams are, but I really wish that we would get further away from that type of imagery with the Ten of Cups. I like to see it more community-oriented, you know, depicting stability because of other things going on in your life than just a significant other. But that's my take on that card. I think the artwork is very lovely. I like the jellyfish, the jellies in the background, and all of that. I think it's lovely. Former scuba diver here before I got my pacemaker, so I love all things marine. And opposite of that, here we have the Ace of Wands. A little mouse there. And here we have the King of Wands, a lovely stag, a very fiery energy there. And here we have the Queen of Cups. I really like this card. One, she's going up towards the light. It reminds me of scuba diving in kelp forest and looking up at the water. And if you look closely, she's got tentacles that are like kind of wispy into what would be her gown. It's very cool. Very pretty card. Okay, and we have the Knight of Swords. He's wearing bear on him, going forth into battle. Interesting considering that, you know, he should be a little more intellectual than brute strength style, but I haven't read what the book says about this card. It hasn't come up for me yet, so maybe they explain their artistic choices in there. Okay, and now we have the star. Lovely, whimsical star there. Diving head first into some rejuvenation. And here we have the King of Cups. This is another one that you probably wouldn't think is a cup card because of all the warm tones, and you know, there's actually candles on this stag-like being, but that's a cup. This is the King of Cups here. So interesting take there. And this is the Seven of Wands. If you look, they've got lots of ladders onto different platforms, almost like Chutes and Ladders, the game. It's a pretty cool take on that card, I think. And this is the Five of Wands. The wands and the serpents. And this is the Page of Wands. More wands. Got a lot of wands grouped together here. I like that it's a kitsune. And here we have a very whimsical fool on her broomstick. There's birds. I was gonna be like, okay, is she in underwater or in the air? But I believe she's in the air because of the birds. And this is the Temperance card. I find this card to be very interesting as an animal person. She's holding a bull. She appears to be some sort of shaman type person. And some of the animals pouring out, you know, are this warmer tone, and some of the animals pouring out are this cooler tone. And it's like the animals coming and going, and you know, yeah, that's a whole huge process. That definitely would take patience and time and understanding and balance. Just like balancing the animal world there. Very interesting. Not something you really see in temperance cards. You know, it's usually the two cups and the colors and all of that. And here we have the Nine of Wands. And this is the Ace of Swords. Pretty strong message there. Boom. Although, there's the little mouse. Okay, and this is the Six of Wands. And I remember reading in the book that she's wearing the fish head to try and deceive all the other fishes to think that she is the king or queen or something like that of the fishes. And yeah, very interesting. I dig it. Page of Swords, more multiculturalism. I believe that's a fennec fox. I'm not entirely sure, but that's my guess. This Justice card is beautiful. Hello, Isis. Here we have the Chariot. You know, we've got chess pieces for the horses. And then this human, he reminds me of Arrow from the TV show. You know, he's got the scruff and stuff and he's wearing the hood. And, you know, Arrow was definitely somebody who took charge of their reality and went forth with it and did what they had to do. So that's the Chariot. Okay, and we have the Eight of Swords here. I believe it's supposed to be a peregrine falcon, although they do kind of have more of the body. Oops, sorry, that was my foot, sorry. More of the body of a hawk, a red-tailed hawk. But so they've got the falconer's hood on and they're sitting on the falconer's glove, but there is no human arm attached to it, and there's blood on the swords, and it's, yeah, very interesting. Very interesting, very neat depiction. And now I have the Page of Cups, and this is another card where you have to really look to see what suit this card is. And the cups are actually in the canopy here of like the circus tent that they are performing shadow puppetry in, which also is a fun take on this card though, even though you have to, you know, look like, what suit is that? Like when you do, it's like, oh, okay. It's neat. Okay, and here is the Two of Swords. So instead of the traditional human blindfolded holding the two swords with water at their back, trying to keep their balance so they don't fall backwards into the water, we have a Stellar's Jay blindfolded and their nest betwixt the two blades of the swords, precariously balanced. And so this Stellar's Jay really has to figure their way out of this jam and find their balance to be able to continue their life. Very, very awesome depiction of the Two of Swords. I really dig this card. Bird nerd, hard not to. Okay, and here we have the Sun. And this is another card that I really like in this deck. One, it's taking a masculine energy card and depicting a more feminine type person. Two, that person is definitely a person of color. Three, there is more bee energy in this card. Very cool. She's kind of got like a bee thing going on in her human hybridness, if you will, for the Sun. I really like this Sun card. It's probably one of my more favorite ones ever, actually. And here we have the Three of Pentacles. And we see a person sitting beneath kind of a similar traditional imagery of this artwork of the building. I think it's more she is relying on the elements and resources around her to work with her to create things versus multiple humans coming together to work on things. So it's kind of more like using what you already have around you to make things work. And more POC representation. She's definitely supposed to be Asian. And I'm pointing that out on some of the cards because it can be hard to see. And when I was looking at other reviews for this deck, You know, I definitely look for diversity in my tarot decks. And some of them I was like, is that a light-skinned person or is it a white person? And this is the second edition, or I'm sorry, I'm thinking of a different deck. This is the first, this is a newer deck. This just came out, I want to say, in December, maybe November of last year, 2021. So this is definitely a newer deck. But I do find it, you know, in reviews, it can be hard to see, you know, is that actually diverse representation or not? But if you look at her in person, I'm not sure if it's coming across on the video, but she is definitely Asian. And here we have the moon card. Some interesting artwork there. She's got her staff and a key. These kind of shadowy humanoids behind her, which I find to be interesting. And here we have the Wheel of Fortune, and I like this Wheel of Fortune. Oops, sorry, that is again my foot, and I'm gonna try and adjust that a little bit because that kind of, well, maybe you can see the card better actually. I'm just gonna leave it, never mind. I'm sorry, I am using new equipment and I'm getting used to it. My apologies for the minor screw-ups I've been doing with them during this video. But anyway, Wheel of Fortune. So there is a little bit of a wheel, but there's also lots of threads and a pair of scissors. Many faces. Are they the fates? Not sure. Many hands. More hands than faces. So yeah, very interesting there. I like it. And here we have the Judgment card, and here we have a black person in a beautiful position depicted in this card, and it's just lovely and well done. And honestly, I don't know how others feel about the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith imagery of this card, but I've never been a fan. I get the concept behind it, of course, but never been a fan of that traditional artwork. And so when I see cards like this, I'm just like, yes, good job. So very regal, beautiful, powerful imagery. The whole thing is just a very powerful card. I love it. And here we are. This is our last card, 10 of Pentacles. And this is another fun one with shape-shifting humans or human hybrids. So we've got the octopus, right? And if you look closely, the octopus is wearing glasses, and there's 3 juvenile, half-human octopuses hanging out, and he is taking his role of being responsible for his little community that he's started there. And yeah, very cool 10 of Pentacles. And then, actually, I'll just use this card. So the back of the deck, 2 bird skulls. I believe they're corvid skulls because the beaks are not curved enough to be a bird of prey, but it's a bigger skull. So I'm going with probably a raven. I love the mint color. It actually matches some of my furniture. I don't think you can really see, well, you can kind of see this cabinet over here is almost exactly the same color of mint. You know, we've got crescent moons, just lovely border work. I like the flexibility of the deck. You know, it shuffles well in both ways that I shuffle, traditional and overhand. I think if I wasn't using it on a textured table like this and actually had a cloth down, it would help with the silver edging staying on longer, and I will probably be doing that for future videos just to make sure that I am not messing up my cards. But overall, you know, I want to say that despite the annoyance of the box shape and despite the annoyance of how long it takes to pry the cards apart when you get it brand new, I think this is a wonderful deck. I would actually go so far to say that this is my deck for 2022. I am really entranced and enraptured and infatuated with this deck. I think it's lovely. It's well done. I think that the 4 art styles flow together well. There's elements that tie them all together, so there's a flow going on with the artwork. I like the more progressive takes on a lot of the imagery. I really love this deck. I really do. And you know, it is a mass market deck. I paid about $21 for it from Amazon. I think it's one of the better decks you can get for that price point, for sure. And I think, you know, the cards tearing when people don't take the time to pry them apart. Well, yes, it is a manufacturing mistake that they did the edging so heavily that that's a problem. If you take the time to do it, I think it's really worth it. And again, at this price point, I don't think you're gonna find a better deck, especially if you are, you know, a well-practiced tarot reader that's looking for something different, but need to fit into your budget. Here you go, you know, just take the time with it. Again, I would not recommend this deck to beginners. I mean, a beginner definitely could learn on it. It just would be a little bit harder. But, you know, with the switch ups and how difficult it is to see the suits and that kind of thing, I would say it is for a more intermediate to advanced tarot reader, generally speaking. But yeah, I heartily endorse the Ostara Tarot, done by Molly Applejohn, Eden Cook, Krista Gibbard, and Julia Iredale. I hope I said all those names correctly, but thank you for humans who went to art school together for such a lovely deck. I hope this deck gets the attention and lauds that it deserves, and that the manufacturing problems do not override how wonderful this deck truly is. And that's all for now. Stay tuned for more tarot reviews, draws, magic stuff, animal stuff, all kinds of things. Thank you so much for taking the time to hear what I have to say about the Ostara Tarot. Enjoy.